Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game SO. Tearing out a fun and exciting episode for you guys this evening as we're playing the recently released as of 3 hours ago Mega Man World 4 DX. This is from Mark Robledo as well as Kensu, and it basically takes the Game Boy original and gives it a full colorization project like they did with previous Game Boy Mega Man games. And I will say this game is absolutely stunning however you play it, whether on Analog Pocket, MiSTer FPGA, software emulation, or a real Game Boy, probably with a modded screen to get the best effect, because the colorways on display here and the overall vibe just absolutely look like the best version of this game you'll ever play. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, you got a Patreon link down below as well. But I absolutely love these colorized projects because they basically breathe new life into a game. If you did not grow up with the original Game Boy and you didn't grow up in the black and white monochrome era with that kind of green cast that the Game Boy gave you, you might not have the same nostalgia for titles that other people would. Some people just really don't want to go back to the black and white gameplay. I would say my favorite handheld that did black and white is probably the Wonder Swan. For Game Boy, I remember playing it back in the day, but I don't have as much of an attachment to it as I do Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. So getting something like Mega Man World 4 DX in full color just absolutely gives the game way more legs than I feel like it ever did before. And the best part is it is still the original Mega Man that Capcom developed, so you know the gameplay is going to be on point, it's going to be difficult, and it's going to troll you into death here and there. And there's so many fun hooks in this game, so many fun gameplay loops, things you need to learn to be able to master it and get to the end. And a lot of what Mega Man would do in the future games kind of got its start here on Mega Man 4. But I absolutely love the colors they've chosen here. These pastel, these soft colors, everything looks so good and really does look like it came from the world of Mega Man. Because before games started getting color on Game Boy, you only had the NES games to kind of point to and say this is what they would look like. So creators and modders like the two that have done this project here kind of get to go in and decide what they think the proper colors would be. And I think in this level right here, as you kind of light up and darken the stage, it just looks incredible. The yellow really do kind of pop over to white, and it has a vibrancy that just really looks amazing on MiSTer FPGA or an HDMI modded console. This is going to be great on Analog Pocket as well with its custom screen, just having such good video quality. And this is the type of thing, again, I know some people wonder, what's the point of doing something like this? Why don't you just develop a new Game Boy game? The point is, this is just a love letter to fans that love the originals and want to play a new and different way. But don't forget, it is still Mega Man, so it's totally going to screw you over on some of those jumps, although that one there was definitely my fault. And as far as the colorization is concerned, some areas it actually makes slightly easier. Like when we're in the dark there and you have those green platforms, they're easier to see when they are in color than they are in black and white. Remember the last time I played this game maybe 5 or 6 years ago, that was a spot that I definitely had a little bit more trouble reading the screen on. But you leave me a comment down below and you tell me, so far, at least in the stages you've seen, what do you think of the colors? For me, they're absolutely epic, but I know the pastel colorway isn't for everyone. It is one that I lean towards. I love neons and pastels and not much in between, but here in Mega Man 4 DX, I think the profile they've chosen really does lend itself to give the game so much more character and charm. And again, it is still the same game, so you're definitely going to have to go slow, take your time, and not rush ahead. Rushing in a Mega Man game is basically like just doing a suicide run in a video game. It's never going to work out well unless you are a speedrunner, and I definitely am not whatsoever. But even if you keep dying time after time, you're going to have a lot more visuals to look at while you take those deaths. And this robot right here in the green definitely has a nice frog color to it, and because a lot of the robots are animal themed, it's pretty easy to decide what color they should be. But these green platforms right here, instantaneously readable, and this again is an area on original hardware where I feel like you would take a death or two that would be unforced, although that one there I definitely did rush. And it is still Mega Man World 4, so you know you're going to get incredible soundtrack that has that classic 8-bit chiptune vibe going on. So go ahead and listen for 45 seconds and I'll come back and tour you through more of the levels, the colors they chose, and why I think this is now the best version of the game possible. But enjoy. So you cannot go wrong with Mega Man music, and whatever game you played is always a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. But I love this star field here too. The blues, the purples, and the greens, and these fireflies being slightly red. But you really get to see in the Egyptian temple here that smart use of color. All of the stone is got that brown to it when you think of a pyramid, and the sand has a slightly different color, so you know where it starts and stops, and you know how far down you are on it. And because the enemies are a different color as well, they are a little bit easier to read when you're traveling across the sand. Still gonna hit you and still definitely can just take some damage to get by them, but I think the Egyptian level might be my favorite use of color in the entire game because it both adds as well as keeps what you would expect consistent. They didn't go crazy with the colors on any of the natural ingredients like the brick in the background or these walls here, but of course the robots do get a little bit more fun color, and because that is a mummy robot right there, definitely kept the color palette drab, which makes logical sense, although there are no robot mummies in the world, at least that I'm aware of. If there were, I would highly assume they wouldn't be the most colorful things in the world. And that is the fun thing about colorization projects like this. The creators are basically just being artists. Sure, they are modifying the ROM to get the colors in there, but it's really an art project, and you know me, I've been an working artist for 20 years, and I love talking about color theory and how it kind of makes a world come alive. And if they had chosen the wrong colors, it definitely would be to the detriment of the game. But I would say the color selection here is just spot on the money. Of course, some things are obvious. If you're going to do water, they're going to be blue. Those things are kind of a given, but I love that they match the blue with this gold and this green, almost teal color in the background. It is such a nice triad of colors going across the entire color wheel. There's so many complementary looks here. You can really tell that they spent a metric crap ton of time getting everything dialed in just right, and the enemies don't have those same colors in them, so again, they pop off the screen, you know where they are, and you know where they're coming from, and that really is a great quality of life improvement when it comes to this game. And these are some of my favorite ROM hacks, just providing color where there weren't any. There's so many instances of ROM hacks out there that add color to games, but there aren't as many that I feel like absolutely nail the colors. And while we'll never be quite sure what colors Capcom would have chosen in the art department had this game been in color, not black and white, I'd like to think that if the original developers took a look at this, they would be quite happy and satisfied with what they saw, because I am 100% satisfied with what I'm seeing here. But again, leave me a comment down below. Now that you've seen more of the colors in the game, how do you feel about them? I get that I am definitely more partial to those pastels. It is just a colorway I like to work in a lot when I'm actually making films and stuff like that. The only other choice I would choose would be neon. And as we move a little bit further in, I'm going to give you one more soundtrack sample, but I'm just going to talk about the game for a moment. I love how trolly Mega Man 4 is as far as the Game Boy release, telling you how you have to play the game and giving you a ton of perilous jumps and teaching you how you have to move and circumnavigate through the worlds to make sure you're safe. These platforms right here have a timing to them. You need to worry about not dropping them out from underneath you. In some instances, it'll just scroll you to the previous screen, and in other instances, it will absolutely kill you in the level. But learning the movement tech and understanding how to stay alive is so much fun in this game, and now it's in color. But here's the next soundtrack sample because, again, some of the best Game Boy music ever made in my opinion, and I'll be right back. Just some straight up classic music there, and now this version of the game is definitely going to become a Mega Man classic as well. I just love this type of ROM hack. Of course it's not necessary, it didn't need to be done, but it adds new life into a game that we've all played at least once, and at least for me personally, it's like the developers are looking over my shoulder when I go through different color wheels and color theory and different swatches and kind of plan out what I'm doing. It just is so pleasing to the eye. It allows the enemies to be the #1 thing you see while still giving you so many incredible visuals in the background, and the greens on these rings with the red on his eyes with all of the different pastels and that black inky sky in the background just marry together to create one of the best looking Mega Man games I've ever seen. So the two people responsible for this project, and I did credit them down below as well as saying at the beginning of the video, did a 10 out of 10 job. This is probably my new favorite Game Boy colorization project of all time. But you tell me down below, what's the one Game Boy game you'd love to see in color if you could snap your fingers and make it exist? But we are done. Hope you enjoyed the video, and definitely go play this one. I left a link in the description. Bye bye.